I think that at the end of the day, we're all creators and we're all experts in something, and the opportunity is.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Jolly SEO's TLDR. I am your host, Greg Heilers. Here at Jolly SEO, we specialized in earned link building. That means media outreach. So today's guest is perfect. We've got Brett Farmiloe, the founder of Featured.com and the CEO of Help a Reporter Out. Brett, thank you for coming back on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, it's an exciting year. Some people listening in are still thinking, Help a Reporter Out, isn't that dead? And this year, you brought it back to life. So we talked about it when that was breaking news, and now you've had 6 months to settle in. How's it feeling over there? You guys feel like you've kind of course corrected? I mean, you had years of kind of inertia to work against.
We also had a lot of years of brand building to work with, so bringing it back had a lot of momentum, and people are super excited about it. I think that on both sides, like for journalists who have this infinite sourcing issue of finding the right expert sources for stories, they're super pumped to have it back, and at the same time, the people who are looking for equal earned access to media opportunities, Help Reporter Out is kind of the OG in the space that you got to be subscribed to. So you mentioned that some people think HARO may or may not still be dead. I would say that there's also a camp of people who never even knew it went away, so it's good to have it back.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when we talked last time, you said a really common reaction you got was like, "Oh, I'm so excited to see the email back in my inbox." Like it kind of, for some of us, we forgot that we weren't getting it, and now it's really back and present. Today, we want to talk about what the platform can do for the journalist side of the equation, because that's in the name. That's who it's for. And over the years, they got neglected and it became a somewhat abused space. But now you're actually here adding features for the journalists. Can you give me a high level of what you're trying to build for the journalists?
Yeah, for sure. I think that journalists are in a tough spot. I think that it's the industry's in flux. Conferences that I go to with journalists, when I speak with journalists, typically the problem is earning an income. Most journalists that I speak with hold up two hands when I ask them how many sources of income that they have, and they're typically writing for 5 different outlets. They've got a Substack that they're monetizing. They might offer consultation hours for PR consultations and things like that. It's pretty wild. And so if you think about the problem to be solved, it's pretty important to solve it. And if you look at the brand, Help a Reporter Out, our new goal is to live up to the name. So in 2025, it was about bringing back source requests and basically reactivating the largest expert network for journalists' requests. And that's been a challenge. It's no secret that it ended up into our ownership because it had its issues. It's the most simple form of connecting, where it's a 3 times a day email newsletter. The journalist puts out a request. Subscribers are able to respond directly to the journalist via email. And because there's not a platform, because there's not an existing profile and things of that nature, it introduces all types of technical complexities that we had to address this year. So, things like, are you using AI to send pitches? Are you a real person? So we've had to deal with all types of profile verification issues, spam, AI usage, and many more to ensure that connection is authentic between those journalists and experts. So it's step one in terms of being helpful to reporters is bringing back those source requests, and we're happy that with what we accomplished this year.
Yeah, I certainly felt it as a contributor, right? I remember when we met, it's two sides, right? I do the outreach, so I'm like, "Ah, it's a cat and mouse game. Like I don't want more challenge, but I'm a consumer of media. So I honestly tell you, I like that you're making the media more secure, let's call it, with profile verification. It's much needed. It makes journalists' jobs easier on their end, I think. I know that they are constantly facing pressure from their editors to vet sources, and it's a challenging environment to do that. What you just talked about putting up two hands, at first I was imagining someone throwing up their hands, but actually you're describing they've got maybe double digit income sources, and not because they're rolling in the money, but because they're chasing gigs. It's a gig work that they're doing. What is this? We're talking about HARO jobs, where they can, is it potentially like a job board where they can hope to find work? Hey, hope you're enjoying the show. We're going to get right back to it. Real quick, if you're not sure how you're showing up in AI tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and the like, click on that first link in the description. If you fill that out for us, we'll send you your own AI visibility report and see how we can help you boost your results. All right, without further ado, remember that link and enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah. So one of the coolest things that I've been a part of is just reviving all the great features that once existed on HARO. So when we acquired HARO, we didn't acquire like the technology, we didn't acquire everything. We had to rebuild everything from ground zero. And that journey of what to build has been largely informed by people who have told us that this used to exist in HARO, where is it? And so we've then learned about what used to exist and then rebuild it. One of those things that used to exist was HARO Jobs. And what HARO Jobs were is essentially a bunch of freelance writing opportunities that existed for journalists to get them connected with their next paid writing gig. And so that's one thing that as we look up web.archive.org and type in helpreporter.com and look at what used to exist in 2016, 2017, you see jobs as one component of that. And so I think that's something that we're called to action to do and to revive. So moving forward into 2026, we're going to be monitoring different call outs on social media platforms to see who is in need of freelance writers, who's in need of copywriters, of freelance editors, of other people that would have opportunities like this, and then surface those in a HARO style email that's sent specifically to journalists. So hopefully that'll be helpful.
It's amazing that you are using the Wayback Machine to dig out what it was, but you're also, I get it, listening to people who are reaching out saying, where is X that used to be here? So, I mean, HARO Jobs, I can see this as a hub for, as you said, it's a very challenging environment they find themselves in right now. We're also dealing with zero click. I think all the SEOs in the audience are dealing with that, and so are the journalists, so are the publications that commission the journalists. So I think that'll be a huge boon to them. What about, you mentioned HARO journalist profiles. Is this a complement or just kind of a feature of HARO Jobs?
So this is something that is entirely different. So as we've listened to more and more journalists, again, it goes back to the problem of having 8 different sources of income and how to properly support and drive new leads, new revenue opportunities for each one of those sources. And so when we looked at how we could be helpful, we looked at our domain and said, wow, this is a really incredibly powerful domain, very high authority, very trusted by search engines. How can we tap into that to be helpful to journalists? And so we said, well, why don't we just create journalist profiles that essentially allow them to showcase their work that could drive passive income for themselves and attract new writing opportunities so that the journalists can focus on doing what they do best, which is producing great work. And then a profile like a HARO journalist profile can essentially drive more Substack subscribers, more people who are booking consultation hours, more people who are purchasing their courses, their books, people who can actually buy them a coffee through the Buy Me a Coffee widget. So what HARO journalist profiles are, claimable, customizable profiles for the journalists that allow them to drag and drop WordPress style different widgets and then essentially personalize their profiles for readers to connect with them in the places that matter.
Yeah, I remember when I was starting it as a freelancer, I call myself a pseudo journalist at the time. I never really quite made it into, certainly not like a New York Times or Wall Street, but I was doing work in a certain vertical. Putting together a small site wasn't the hardest, but getting awareness, getting the site out there is really hard. I mean, you're supposed to learn how to do SEO and then rank your own site or something like this. So that's really, I think, insightful if they can piggyback off of the authority you guys have and appear in search. That could be a huge boon to someone who's, as you said, freelancing and chasing multiple gigs. Maybe get some inbound.
Yeah, journalists are entrepreneurs today. And
Yeah.
what do entrepreneurs need? They need customers and they need subscribers. And a lot of journalists are, some are proudly wearing that hat and others are forced to put it on. And I think that you just need as many tools and resources to help them with that job to be done, which is getting visibility and credibility for your work so that you can earn passive income through the many different streams that you got.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is, we talked about how they can get gigs. And then while they're doing the gigs, I mean, I imagine Helper Reporter is still a core component, is going to be the source request. Just connecting with the contributors. So are you thinking about moving on site? Or are we still staying in the newsletter in 2026?
Oh, we're definitely staying in the newsletter. Yeah, I think that the thing that I mean, learned really like we didn't learn it as hard as I think the previous owner did, which is if it's not broke, don't fix it. And previously HARO tried to rebrand and move to a platform called Connectively. And what we've learned in reviving it is like people love the email newsletter. They love that format. They love not having to sign up, create a profile. They can monitor it at their own leisure. It's really interesting content. Like my mother-in-law lives in rural Arizona, and she subscribed to the HARO newsletter, and she's like texting me like, "Oh, this is really cool. Like, there's some really interesting things on there," which is by nature just like it's an interesting piece of the web that still exists, and it has existed since 2008. So it's great to be in an opportunity to expand and grow on that and be called to action in ways that the industry needs it to be. And it's just listening to what people are saying and hearing about their problems and seeing where HARO could be a solution.
Yeah, I actually never thought about that as kind of a digest, but it is. It's kind of the zeitgeist for our mainstream culture. You can see what's coming down the pipeline in our culture.
HARO's used in a lot of ways, not just to get featured in the media, but to keep a pulse on trends. There's a lot of different reasons why people are subscribed, and it's been really surprising to see why.
Yeah, I think that was really insightful what you said about not moving to a web app from a contributor perspective, but it was also easy to imagine from a journalist perspective. Who wants yet another platform to log into? I think a lot of journalists, well-intentioned, posted opportunities to connectively and then didn't log back in to see the pitches. We certainly, as an agency that was sending outreach at scale, noticed an immediate, very drastic drop in response rates, which boo-hoo, it's nobody's problem except ours, but it definitely broke the ecosystem when they tried to do that. So I think really smart to stay newsletter.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's keeping it simple. HARO is the most simple, intuitive thing to use to connect with journalists when it comes to reactive, media type of requests. And then, as we look ahead, it's keeping it simple. What's our name? Help a reporter out. How can we be helpful? So I think that's the exciting part of where we're at, just trying to keep it simple and be helpful to the reporters that use the platform.
Does that mean featured's going back to newsletter?
No,
Get rid of the web?
Featured's great. Like, so featured.com, shout out, is very much existing, where Help a Reporter Out is for reporters. Featured is very much to get you featured in the media. So we're excited about some different things there, ranging from the development of PR agents and essentially using agents to identify relevant media opportunities that exist on HARO and elsewhere, and drafting suggested responses that you could take over the finish line. So there's a lot of agentic stuff that should be hitting the featured platform that makes this really easy to use. There's also other stuff that we've got in the pipeline for featured, including starting to pay experts. There's certain stakeholders beyond publishers and journalists that are interested in paying experts to share their expertise. And so that ranges from a wide variety of opportunities that we're going to be exploring in the new year. And then also just like the fact that most expert sources also have websites and also have a need for high quality content. And so we're developing essentially agentic content teams that allow anyone to tap into their contact list and to their website and create intelligent content strategies, create interesting pieces of content that feature insights from their own community, as well as the featured community as a whole. So I think that'll expand the pie in terms of how many media opportunities are actually available for all, because the biggest bottleneck and the friction point is I've got a website, I've got this inactive blog, and it's inactive because I don't have the time to devote to it. So I think that the agentic experiences that we're going to be launching will allow people to generate quality content at scale that they're going to be really happy with.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm almost imagining a link exchange, but obviously it's different, right? It's being able to engage in other people's content, them and yours, but get content produced for your own site too, which is, I get outreach all the time, but to be honest, the main pain point is I don't want to create another blog post right now to entertain this idea of I'm not that opposed to having expert contributors to our site. I just don't want to create another blog post.
Yeah, and it's like, and it goes back to the purpose of it too, because most business owners have like a CRM with a few thousand, 10,000 or so contacts, and how do you keep those folks warm on the list? Are you just going to send the generic email to all 10,000 and press send? I think that we're living in a more personalized world, and people expect personalized experiences. And so, if you were to invite me to contribute to the blog, I would want something that speaks to my expertise, that speaks to something that I'm able to easily deliver on, and makes it really simple to share that expertise and put it to use for myself and for you and your blog. So that's what we've been perfecting and working on for several years, and now the technology is allowing us to execute it in a more frictionless, easy way.
Super cool. Let's just close out on the topic of 2025, but I think going into 2026, AI is still top of everyone's. I mean, use the word agentic very like it's a normalized word now, right? Everybody knows what agentic means. It was a year ago much more taboo. We were playing cat and mouse, like AI detection. Are we allowed to use AI? Even in featured and helper reporter, there is AI detection. Where are we going into 2026? Are we allowed as contributors to use AI? Are the journalists and publishers on the other side totally against AI? Do they want help detecting it? You're in the middle of all this. What you have a very unique position to give an opinion on this.
Yeah, I think that there's two camps. There's the publishers and journalists that are anti, and the ones that just don't care. The ones that don't care are not copying and pasting a quote. They're reviewing a pitch, determining whether or not that source is an excellent fit for their story, and then they're picking up the phone and doing an interview with those people to put it across the finish line. So I think that for the most part, you're not going to see stuff that's copy pasted. And at the same time, then there's the folks that will one-click the little checkbox on HARO that says, spare me from the AI pitches, and we'll withhold those, so that they don't receive 100% AI-generated stuff. But in terms of like the 2026 AI outlook, I think that, yeah, like a year ago, it was, should we use AI to pitch or not? I think one of the biggest trends about AI is the use of agents. And by agents, I'm meaning any system that is capable of executing a decision with or without human involvement. So should I send this pitch? Should I pitch this particular journalist? Should I select this answer for my blog? All of those are examples of agentic systems. And I think in a year from now, like if you were to ask anyone today, it'd probably be single-digit percentages in terms of people who have adopted an agent and are actively using an agent within their workflows. A year from now, I'd expect the majority of people if you asked them, say, yes, I have a personal agent that does X for me. And I don't even have to look at it, and it just orders my groceries. It approves questions on featured, whatever that scenario is. So that's a pretty exciting thing that is advancing really, really quickly.
Yeah, awesome. Brett, I always love to end these episodes just to ask the guest, you know your space far better than I do. What did I not ask in our conversation today that you want to share with our audience?
I think that you asked plenty. I mean, we covered HARO, we covered a little bit of featured, we covered a little bit of AI. I think that at the end of the day, we're all creators and we're all experts in something, and the opportunity is cloudy and clear at the same time. I think that 2026, no one's really knowing what to expect. Like I'm talking with CEOs of major AI companies, and just like, hey, what would you teach your kid right now, like to prepare for the future? And like that is a cloudy answer. And at the same time, it's very clear on what the short term is in terms of where people need help and assistance, both in their workflows, in their businesses, in their careers. And so I think that the natural thing that anyone can do is just one foot in front of the other, and try to have a good short-term strategy, and very much a view on what the long term looks like. And by long term, what's the next 6 months look like? I think that it's going to be an entirely different world in 6 months versus 12. So have the 3-week execution plan and look ahead at the next 6 months.
Brett, thank you so much. I know people by now surely have heard of helperreporter.com, but if not, they should go check it out, sign up for the newsletter, featured.com, Anywhere you want people to follow you on social?
No, not at all. But
Right
those
here
are
on the podcast, of course.
yeah, those are two great websites. I would highly encourage anyone to sign up for Help a Reporter Out and just put their email address in. And then if you want early access to HARO queries, then feature.com is a great place to do that, where typically we'll cross-post a HARO query as soon as it goes live, about 2 to 3 hours before it goes into the HARO newsletter. And that's not because I'm trying to get you to sign up. It's because we can only send out a 3 times a day email newsletter, and typically there's a gap. So appreciate you having me on, Greg.